White House is vowing to address the global semiconductor shortage. President Joe Biden expected to sign an executive order in the next few weeks.
The auto industry is among the hardest hit, as we've reported again and again, by the chip shortage.
A shortage of silicon chips is forcing automakers to cut back on production.
Hi, welcome to another episode of BeYoundtoDAY. Everyone from car makers to smartphone companies is having the same problem these days. They can't get enough semiconductors to put into their products. And don't just think this means laptops and smartphones. A lack of chips have resulted in some major companies having to pause their manufacturing of products you might not necessarily think of when it comes to semiconductors. One way or other, we all are dealing with the consumer electronics to medical devices, planes, smart appliances, AI, big data, 5G, satellites, high-tech industries, military services and gadgets, industrial production, computer chips into human brains. Among all of them, there is a common component, microchip. We don't realize how important they are in our day-to-day life, but they are essential as like other goods and services, without which we cannot pass a single day. So what is microchip? Let's understand from the Intel production value perspective.
The process begins when silicon-rich sand is melted and cooled, forming a solid, which is then sliced into wafers. Once inside an Intel fab, the raw wafers begin their long journey through an incredibly complex process. They're loaded into front-opening unified pods, or FOUPs, which travel hundreds of miles along Intel's automated superhighway, going from tool to tool, as processors are painstakingly built up on each wafer. The wafer first goes through a series of important steps, such as photolithography, ion implantation, and etching, that prepare it for the critical transistor formation process. Intel was the first to manufacture three-dimensional transistors called FinFETs. FinFET construction requires first building a channel in the form of a fin. Intel has devised several innovations to overcome fundamental barriers to continued transistor scaling. One such innovation is a breakthrough fabrication method called gate last. It involves building, then removing a temporary gate in order to precisely place the dielectric material and metal gate. This allows for the gate to wrap around the fin and control the flow of electrons through the channel. Another invention moves the transistor contact directly over the active gate. To accomplish this, the gate material is recessed and then filled with insulating dielectric material to prevent the creation of a short circuit. Next, the dielectric near the gate is etched, filled with metal, recessed, and capped to allow a novel self-aligning process that enables the high-density contact geometries. Now, the dielectrics are etched selectively to expose only the desired part to connect to the first metal lines. This is done through an innovative via etch and deposition scheme, allowing contact over active gate to happen. Finally, dozens of layers of metal interconnect lines are added to complete the circuit. After more than 1,000 of these complex steps, the wafers are finally prepared for singulation and packaging. Innovative processor packaging has become a critical feature of advanced computing architecture. 2D and 3D packaging technologies are enabling new device form factors and additional boosts in performance and energy efficiency. Testing of the final product ensures that every chip exceeds our performance and quality standards.
Importance. The semiconductor is located between the conductor and the insulator and is commonly used in the production of electronic chips, computing components, and devices. Semiconductors may be pure elements such as silicon or germanium, or compounds such as gallium arsenide or cadmium selenide. Semiconductors are key technology enablers that power many of the innovative digital devices we use today. The annual chip production is about 1 trillion of these these tiny chips, which are produced each year. Companies made significant investment on setting up to run these chip plants. The Semiconductor Industry Association (SIA) recently announced that total sales of global semiconductors industry were $412.1 billion in 2019, a decrease of 12.1% compared to 2018. However, the industry is determined to rebound strongly. The global semiconductor market size is expected to reach $726.73 billion by 2027, with a compound annual growth of CAGR 4.7%. In 2019, the US accounted. The Semiconductor Industry Association (SIA) recently announced that total sales of global semiconductors industry were $412.1 billion in 2019, a decrease of 12.1% compared to 2018. However, the industry is determined to rebound strongly. The global semiconductor market size is expected to reach $726.73 billion by 2027, with a compound annual growth of CAGR 4.7%. In 2019, the US accounted for 47% of the global semiconductor market, followed by Korea 19% and Japan 10%. China is the largest importer of semiconductors in the world. Notable semiconductors in the industries are: Number 1. Intel Corp, ticker symbol INTC. Intel is integrated device, a manufacturer that designs and manufactures motherboards, chipset, network interface controllers, and integrated circuits. The total revenue (TTM) is $75.7 billion. The net income is $22.7 billion. The market cap of Intel is $256.1 billion. A year trading return is 34.1%. The exchange where they have listed is Nasdaq. Number 2. Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Co. Limited, ticker symbol TSM. The Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Co. is one of the world's largest dedicated independent pure-play semiconductor foundries. Pure-play foundries only fabricate integrated circuits and do not have any in-house design capabilities. Many semiconductor companies outsource the manufacturing of their components to Taiwan Semiconductors. The total revenue is $37.9 billion. The net income is $13.1 billion. The market cap of TTM is $293.5 billion. Exchange they are listed is New York Stock Exchange, with total return is 58.8%. Number 3. Samsung. Samsung has its US headquarters in Houston, Texas. The company supplies DRAM, SSD, e-storage, multi-chip packages, processors, image sensors, integrated circuit, and security products through its semiconductor division. The total revenue is $60.48 billion. The net income is $18.6 billion, with a market cap of $567.558 billion, and they are listed in KSE. Number 4. Qualcomm, ticker symbol QCOM. Qualcomm is a global semiconductors and telecommunication company that designs and markets wireless communication products and services. The total revenue is $24.7 billion. The net income is $4 billion. The market cap of Qualcomm is $101.2 billion, with a return of 34.2%, and they are listed in Nasdaq. Number 5. Broadcom Inc., ticker symbol AVGO. Broadcom manufactures digital and analog semiconductors and provide interfaces for computers, Bluetooth connectivity, routers, switches, processors, and fiber optics. The total revenue is $22.9 billion. The net income is $2.5 billion. The market cap is $126.1 billion, with a return 23.4%. They are listed in Nasdaq. Number 6. Nvidia Corp, symbol NVDA. Nvidia is best known for its line of consumers and high-end video graphics card found in computers of all shapes and sizes. Their graphics processing unit, or GPUs, are popular among computer gamers, digital artists, and those who work with computer-aided design. The total revenue is $11.8 billion. Net income is $3.3 billion. The market cap is $227.2 billion, with total return is 155.5%. They are listed in Nasdaq. Number 6. Nxp Semiconductors NV, ticker symbol NXPI. Nxp Semiconductors, based in the Netherlands. Nxp Semiconductors NV provides semiconductors and related technologies to companies in the business of in-car entertainment, mobile devices, security appliances, security applications, and more. Nxp products are also used in applications as wide-reaching as lighting, wireless infrastructure, computing, and identification. The total revenue is $8.8 billion. The net income is $0.2 billion. Market cap of Nxp is $32.6 billion with a return of 32.0%, and they are listed in Nasdaq. So what is the problem? How did we reach to this situation? The full impact of the chip shortage, however, didn't hit us or into the wider market until General Motors Corporation's Ford Motors, Tesla, other automakers said recently they have to shut down production on a certain models because of lack of semiconductors. And this lack of semiconductors isn't just a problem for manufacturers, but the product companies who are using them as well. Makers of gadgets and popular electronics are also got into this havoc. The global chip shortage, it all comes down to the three major factors according to the industries. The first, the COVID-19 pandemic. It should be no surprise that the pandemic is involved somehow with this shortage. The pandemic led to the lockdowns and an increase in the remote work. This led to an explosion of people buying new gadgets to get work done or just help pass the time. Gadgets have semiconductors, and well, you get an idea. Supply just couldn't keep up the demand. The second major reason is limited manufacturing. Speaking of supply and demand, the capabilities to create semiconductors also slowed thanks to the factories that have to shut down or limit the number of workers in the plant at any time over COVID-19 concerns. So as the pandemic was causing people to buy more gadgets than ever, it was also reducing the capacity of manufacturers to make the semiconductors that power those gadgets. The third and the major cause of shortage of chips is the US-China trade war. Trump's trade war with China is the final factor, and it's one the Biden administration has inherited. Just before the Christmas, the US Department of Commerce blacklisted the largest Chinese semiconductor manufacturer, Semiconductor Manufacturing International Corporation (SMIC), from acquiring US-based parts and tech that are required to produce chips that are 10 nanometers and smaller than that. As most smartphones and gadgets use 10 nanometers and smaller semiconductors, this supply chain constriction meant companies lost easy access to these products from one of the biggest semiconductors manufacturers in Asia. And the last, which would have impacted, is the fourth one. A winter storm in Texas in February 2021, forcing several chip factories to temporarily halt productions amid power outrage, did not help with the ongoing crisis. Impact due to these reasons. Samsung, which is the largest manufacturer of computer chips in the world, as well as one of the biggest users, has said the chip shortage comes amid rising demand for consumer electronics during the pandemic. There's a serious imbalance in the supply and demand of the chip in the IT sector globally. The company's co-chief executive Ko Dongjing said, Samsung has indicated it could delay the release of the next Galaxy Note smartphone until 2022 as a result of this shortage. Apple, the world's biggest buyer of chips, was one of the worst affected companies, delaying the launch of iPhone 12 last year as a result. Foxconn, Apple's biggest supplier, is the latest company to be impacted by the global shortage of microchips. Foxconn, one of the Apple's biggest suppliers, warned that the company expects a 10% decline in export due to the global computer chip shortage. Amid growing concerns from industry leaders, President Joe Biden set an executive order on 31/3/2021 calling for a review of a critical US manufacturing supply chain that may rely too much on China, particularly those involving chips and high-capacity batteries. The steps include asking Congress to authorize $37 billion to help increase silicon production inside US. His order also launched a 100-day supply chain study for 4 major industries, namely semiconductors, EV batteries, pharmaceuticals, and rare earth minerals. While the shortage has caused pain for consumers and companies, it also hurt the chip industry. The brighter side. While automakers have struggled, the flip side of the semiconductor shortage is that the companies supplying those chips could see boost onto their business. Most semiconductor companies could report strong results for the first quarter and gave a good guidance for the second, said analyst Janardhan Menon, an analyst at Liberal Capital Limited. This is all great news for the semiconductors vendors, Liberum's Menon said by phone. This kind of tightness of the capacity utilization and rising price, very strong demand invariably means that the results are very strong. Europe auto chip supplier Infineon Technologies AG is up by 12% for the year, while ST Microelectronics NV has gained just 5.6%. In the US, Texas Instrument Inc. is up by 15%, while Nxp Semiconductors NV and ON Semiconductors Corp has done better, up to 25% and 24% respectively, versus the Philadelphia Semiconductor Index's 11.5% rise. When will semiconductor supply chain can improve? Analyst says that the chip shortage will probably last at least for until this year of 2021. As we all are fighting with the pandemic and making sure business run as usual, the pandemic may continue, but chip shortage could give all of us a learning how to deal with and bring the new solutions to which we all will come to know beyond today. This was all happening this week in the world of stocks and market. If you haven't subscribed yet, then you can like and subscribe by hitting the subscribe button. Beyond Today's Stocks will continue to bring the latest update from the world of stocks. Enjoy the video and have a good one.